Welcome back to Navigating the Streams. I'm Mike DeLong, and I'm here to tell you about all the movies I watched in October. I watched 21 movies last month. My goal was to catch up with as many movies from this year on my watch list. That covers about 12. I also watched a few more horror thrillers, every Tron movie, and a Kurosawa that was new to me. As always, I'm giving you my reviews from least favorite to most favorite. Let me know what you think. First up is The Stuff, and I gave it 1 star. The Stuff is a movie that freaked me out as a kid. I don't know that I've ever met anybody who remembers seeing it, and I have to check every couple years to see if it really exists or if I'm just making the whole thing up. The Stuff is a marshmallow fluff slash yogurt dessert slash topping slash meal in itself that's the new craze. However, it's also an addictive, mind-controlling substance that may be alien in nature. The story follows a boy who refuses to eat the stuff because he thinks he saw it moving in the fridge, and an investigator who's trying to bring down the stuff for a conglomerate of ice cream executives. Michael Moriarty, who you may recognize as one of the early DAs on Law & Order, plays the investigator badly. He's got this southern Louisiana accent that's just ridiculous. The kid's not great either. Danny Aiello has a couple of scenes, and Paul Sorvino is the leader of a racist conspiracy theory-believing paramilitary group. There are these great ads for the stuff throughout the movie in an attempt to satirize 80s consumerism, but it doesn't raise the quality of the movie at all. The movie takes place all over the country, and there's hardly any explanation of how the characters got from one place to another, or how much time has passed. It's just not put together very well at all. In rewatching the stuff, I didn't have high expectations that it would be something great. I'm glad my library had it on Blu-ray so I could see it again, but it's not high on my list for a revisit, unless they remake it. Then I will be in the movie theater with a bucket of popcorn. Next up is 2025's The Naked Gun, and I gave it 1.5 stars. Despite my reservations, I gave this movie a shot. As I wrote my review, I had a hard time coming up with any plot details, jokes, gags, or anything, so now I'm not even sure that I watched it at all. The Naked Gun contains some plot details from the original Kingsman movie. The bad guy wants to get a device to make people go wild and kill each other. But the Kingsman did everything so much better than the Naked Gun sort of attempted. The best thing about this movie is the Pam Anderson performance. She knocked it out of the park for her second time in a row. Are we in the Renaissance? The jokes in the original are about 5 every minute. In this one, it's 1 every 5 minutes, and they mainly fall flat. I laughed out loud 2 or 3 times. I don't think Liam Neeson was the best choice. He doesn't have the goofy qualities that Leslie Nielsen had in his straight performance. It didn't work for me. I should have stuck to my guns and stayed away from this one, and I recommend you do too. But watch the original. It's still great. Next up, we have Happy Gilmore 2, and I also gave it 1.5 stars. Happy Gilmore is one of the best Adam Sandler comedies. Unfortunately, the sequel just didn't have the stuff that made the original so good. Happy is a widower with 5 kids. His boys are clones of him in the worst ways, but his daughter has talent as a dancer. When Happy finds out what it will cost to send her to dance school, he needs to get back on the golf course. Oh, and he needs to save golf as we know it before some douchebags try to make it more interesting for a modern audience. I didn't have high hopes for this movie, but I was finally interested in seeing an Adam Sandler comedy again. It was not worth the time. There are a ton of flashbacks to the original movie, some just to remind us who a character was. If I wanted to see that much of the first movie, I would have watched it instead. Also, there were so many cameos that it became distracting. The script is bad and the story is only slightly better. The acting is, well, you don't watch an Adam Sandler movie for the acting, do you? Both of Sandler's daughters are in the movie, and they're okay at best, but they fit right in with the rest of the cast. And there are some special effects in the movie that aren't so special. If you were hoping for an eagle on this one, I'm sorry to say, it's a triple bogey at best. The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, is next, and I gave it 2 stars. When I saw that there was going to be a new Looney Tunes movie, I thought I'd give it a chance. The previews didn't excite me much, but that's probably because there's not much exciting about it. Daffy Duck and Porky Pig are adopted by a farmer, and they inherit the farmhouse when he dies. Now they need to fix up their farmhouse before the inspector kicks them out. Meanwhile, an alien is trying to take control of everyone with a new flavor of gum. The story doesn't have any of the charm of the Looney Tunes shorts of the past, and the twist was just bad. The animation is okay, but I prefer the old look. The voices were good though. I watched it with my kids and they said they liked it. It made them laugh, and they liked the mind control bubblegum. If Warner Brothers was looking to attract a younger audience, they may be successful, but I'm going to be more hesitant to watch another one if it seems to have the quality that this one did. Next up is Friendship, and I gave it 2 3/4 stars. Friendship was a successful movie in terms that it had a goal and it accomplished it. However, I don't share that goal and probably won't be revisiting this movie anytime soon. Tim Robinson plays Craig, a man who is the progressive commercial where people are becoming their parents after buying a home, personified to a ridiculous degree. He is uncomfortable to be around, can't read the room, and fails with his every attempt. He meets a new neighbor, Austin, played by Paul Rudd, and seemingly makes a new friend, but the inevitable dumpster fire soon follows. Robinson and Kate Mira, who plays Craig's wife, are very good, despite Craig being impossible to like. But you do wonder how these people ever got together, let alone stayed together. Paul Rudd is, for the most part, Paul Rudd, with a little more to do than in other comedies. The way Friendship is shot doesn't add or distract from the story. There's nothing special about it, but it's not horrible either. The story, like I said, succeeds, but not in a way that brings me back for more. There is a strange horror movie in here if you look at it from a different angle and don't play things for laughs. I might have liked that version better. If you're a fan of uncomfortable comedies, Friendship might be your favorite movie of the year. But if you're not, I would stay far, far away from this one. The Phoenician Scheme comes next, and I also gave it 2 3/4 stars. Wes Anderson has been going places that I'm just not interested in going lately. While I did like The Phoenician Scheme better than his previous 2 movies, I'm still left wishing for some of the greatness of the past. Okay, let me try to remember the plot of this movie. Benicio del Toro plays Zsa Zsa, a businessman who has survived several assassination attempts. He decides to name his estranged daughter, a nun named Lysol, as his heir, but they haven't seen each other in decades if they've even ever met before. While he's explaining his business ventures to her, tycoons are scheming to cause his downfall. He needs to make various deals with partners, paramilitary groups, and others to keep things afloat. As I write this, it sounds interesting, but I just don't feel that there's any passion in the topic, and it all comes across as boring. All of the acting is the quick, monotone style typical of many of Anderson's films, but it just hasn't been working lately. I just don't care, and I hate that I don't care. Wes Anderson was a director that I held in high regard and made a point to try to see his films when I could, but he's quickly falling off that top-tier directors. The production design of the movie still holds up, though. The Phoenician Scheme is typical of Wes Anderson and his style. But for me, it was too much style over not enough substance. Megan 2.0 is next, and I gave it 3 stars. When I heard that Megan 2.0 was coming out, I was mildly excited. When I heard the reviews, I was disappointed. When I watched it on Peacock, I had a good enough time. All the main characters are back in this sequel, even the ones you don't remember. Gemma is played by Allison Williams and is now on a crusade to limit or even stop AI from growing at an uncomfortable rate. She has teamed up with Christian, her new boyfriend, and anti-AI crusader. However, the military has lost control over their new AI soldier, Amelia, and they have come to the conclusion that Megan is the only thing that can stop it. I believe that this movie succeeds in what it sets out to do. There were complaints that they switched from a horror comedy to an action comedy, but that didn't bother me. If you went in expecting horror and didn't get that, you would be understandably disappointed. But going in knowing it wasn't going to be a horror movie, I was able to enjoy it for what it was. Megan 2.0 isn't breaking any new ground. I think it takes the story from the original to a logical second chapter. The tension may be lowered a peg or two, but that's not necessarily a deal breaker. Go into Megan 2.0 with no expectations and just take the ride. You probably won't hate it or love it. It's just a goofy action movie to take you out of your day-to-day. Next up is Honey Don't, and I gave it 3 stars. I found it really hard to write a review for this movie. There's so much I like about Honey Don't, but there's also so many ways that I see this movie just not coming together. Honey, played by Margaret Qualley, is a private investigator in a small town. A woman who was a potential client turns up dead, and Honey begins to investigate, which leads her to a fake church led by Reverend Drew, played by Chris Evans. So the movie has a lot of funny lines and visuals, which is a plus. But there's also a cop that keeps asking Honey for a date, even though she always says she likes girls, which I found to be borderline harassment. It's light and played for laughs, but it just doesn't sit right with me. There's also a lot of nudity and lesbian sex scenes in the movie, which in itself isn't a bad thing, but it pushes the line of necessary for the plot and exploitative. I really like what Qualley is doing in the role. She's had a great couple of years and is one to watch in the future. Chris Evans is good too, despite his ridiculous character. Ethan Coen directed the movie, and it feels more like a Coen Brothers movie than his last one, Drive Away Dolls, but it's still not up to the standard that some fans of theirs might have. He also co-wrote the script with Trisha Cook. I felt the overall story was good, but everything surrounding the church just doesn't feel fully integrated as well as it could be. It feels like Honey's storyline was one idea, and the church storyline was another idea, and they merged them with only a slight amount of success. Honey Don't is right on the verge of a recommendation from me. There's a lot of good things to like about this movie, but it just doesn't come together enough for me to tell you to check this one out. Next up is Tron, and I gave it 3.25 stars. This is the first time I've seen the original Tron ever. And while I can appreciate it as a landmark achievement of its time, I can't say that I loved it. Jeff Bridges plays Kevin Flynn, a hacker and former employee of ENCOM. He attempts to get his intellectual property back, but a program called Master Control, a powerful AI attempting to gain power over everything it can, transports Flynn into another world of electronics and programs, where the programs are personified as their creators. I never realized that Tron is actually the name of a character in the movie. Tron is a security program whose purpose is to defend the grid, yet this is the only movie in which he plays a major role. Tron, the movie, is fine, and it has all the makings of a cult classic. It obviously looks dated, especially compared to the sequels. The acting is fine, but nothing special. I always thought Bridges brought the dude to every movie post-Lebowski, but there's definitely hints of him here. Maybe he was always the dude. Everyone else around him are good, but nothing special. Tron was nominated for Best Costumes and Best Sound, but was disqualified for visual effects because digital effects was considered cheating at the time. I don't think the story is very good though. There's the MacGuffin Flynn is trying to track down on the grid, and the goal to bring down Master Control. But there's little else. Get from A to B to C and feed us eye candy along the way. This is the complaint many people have with the newer Tron movies, but I think it existed from the beginning. I don't think Tron is a great movie, but I do appreciate it for its groundbreaking effects, the same way I appreciate Jason and the Argonauts and the Skeleton Army. Though I do think the Skeleton Army holds up just a little bit better than the effects of Tron. Next up is Tron Ares, and I also gave it 3.25 stars. Tron Ares has gotten a lot of criticism over a lack of a quality story, but that's never been a strong suit of the series. The potential is there, but until it is met, let's judge on what we've got and not on what we've hoped for. Ares quickly sweeps away the characters from Legacy and introduces us to the new CEOs of ENCOM and Dillinger Systems, its competitor. They are both trying to find a way to bring the grid to the real world. The problem is that nothing lasts longer than a half hour before it dematerializes. It's a race to discover the existing code. The winner will either militarize this ability or use it to fix all the needs of humanity. So the big problem with this movie is the fact that it does nothing with the setup of Legacy. It's barely a sequel. No one is given a lot to do either. Every character is pretty basic, which is not that interesting to watch. The reason I went to see Ares was for the visuals, and I was not disappointed. Seeing all the cool vehicles from the grid in real life was amazing. I also experienced a rare moment where the trailer made me think one thing, but that was not what I experienced in the theater. Is Tron Ares the best it could possibly be? No. Is it still enjoyable and wonderful to look at? I think so. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel for future reviews and to find out what's coming to a streaming service near you. Don't Breathe comes next, and I gave it 3.25 stars. I've wanted to catch up with Don't Breathe for a while now. I finally made time for it, and I liked it well enough. Alex's dad works for a security company, so Alex teams up with Rocky, a young woman who doesn't have the best living situation, and Money, her crazy boyfriend, to rob homes protected by Alex's dad's company. They decide to pull off one last score so Rocky can move away with her little sister and find a better life. A blind man won a large court settlement after the death of his daughter, so they see him as the perfect target. However, he has unanticipated militaristic skill as well as other secrets the robbers are not expecting. Stephen Lang, who plays the blind man, is the standout of the cast. He is startling and brutal and plays an amazing blind man. The rest of the cast are fine, but nothing special. As with any movie with a blind man, there are a few scenes in the dark, so characters with sight are at a disadvantage. But this trope works well in the movie. And the twist is just bonkers. If you're looking for an exciting thriller with a few surprises, check this one out. It's not great, but it definitely fits the bill. On Becoming a Guinea Fowl comes next, and I gave it 3¼ stars. I first heard about this movie from somebody's best of 2024 list, but it just definitely didn't hit me as hard as it hit that reviewer. The movie takes place in Zambia and opens with Shula returning from a costume party to find her uncle dead on the road. Shula tries to get out of the culturally required mourning ritual, but is roped into running back and forth and serving the neighbors and family members who have come to pay their respects. Meanwhile, the uncle's young widow is blamed for his death because she didn't keep a happy home. There's a stoicism to this movie that could have used more emotional moments. That may be a cultural issue on my part, but I didn't feel a connection to Shula in the way I would have liked. Also, it doesn't come to a satisfying ending. The conflict is not resolved, and we don't know for sure if these women will break the cycle of trauma for the women around them. The acting is great, especially by Susan Chardy, who plays Shula, and Elizabeth Chisella, who plays Nsana, Shula's cousin. It's hard for me to put a solid rating on this movie. I didn't connect with it, but I see many good things in it. I think it's an important story, but one I wish was told a little differently. Don't avoid this movie because of this review. You might have a different experience with it. If you do, let me know. You can find it on HBO Max. Next, I've got Predator: Killer of Killers, and I gave it 3½ stars. Killer of Killers is an animated anthology movie with all the violence, action, and blood that you'd expect from a Predator movie. The really great thing is that it comes together really well in the end. There are 4 parts to Killer of Killers. The first is a Viking tribe attacking a group of people. The Viking leader Ursa is seeking revenge on the man who killed her father so many years ago. The second is 2 men who were raised together until, as boys, they were pitted against each other and one refused to fight. Now, as men, their father figure dies and the exile comes back to fight his friend again. And in the third, a young Mexican-American man becomes a mechanic and pilot in World War II. When his squadron goes out to fight what could be the Japanese, he goes out to try to save them. In all these stories, a predator shows up and attacks. I'll leave the 4th part as a surprise. The first 2 stories are more compelling than the third for me, but they all work. The last part is also fun to watch. I've seen this ranked as the 3rd best Predator movie after the original and Prey. I haven't seen them all, so I can't say with certainty that I agree, but it's a good entry into that universe. It's co-directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who directed Prey and Predator Badlands, and also 10 Cloverfield Lane. I also like the animation style. If you're into the Predator universe or adult animation, I definitely recommend this. You can check it out on Hulu. The Rule of Jenny Penn comes next, and I gave it 3½ stars. This movie was not on my radar at the end of last year, but when I saw a preview with John Lithgow, an actor I'm usually not a big fan of, using a baby doll puppet in a retirement home, I was intrigued. Jeffrey Rush plays a judge who's just had a stroke. He's moved into a retirement community until he's able to recover enough to be on his own. Because of this and his general personality, he's not interested in making relationships with anyone. Eventually, he meets another resident with a puppet, Lithgow, who has the most main character energy of all time during the day and terrorizes the other residents at night. When the judge decides to stand up to him, everyone else is too scared to stand with him. This is a strange thriller, mostly because of the puppet. It's not about split personalities or possession. There are some hints of a backstory for John Lithgow's character, but nothing concrete about how he gets his access or who he was before the retirement home. I wish they would have added more or not explained it at all. If they completely omitted it, I would have been fine. But with the little I received, I only have more questions. The actors in the movie are great. The world of the retirement home is well defined and strangely maze-like at the same time, and the ending is satisfying as well. I'm glad I saw this trailer last year, and very happy to be doing this channel, so I was aware when it came to Hulu last month. Warfare is the last film in the 3.5 Stars Club this month. Alex Garland co-writes and co-directs Warfare with Ray Mendoza, a man who lived the events the film is based on. While I'm not super interested in movies about the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, I will watch any movie Garland is involved with. Warfare is about a platoon of Navy SEALs on what seems like a routine observation and support mission, but things turn out to be anything but routine. The artistry of this movie is amazing, and it looks great, and sounds even better. If Warfare doesn't get an Oscar nomination in Best Sound, I'll be annoyed. The major problem I have with the movie is its lack of storytelling. Aside from a brief 5 to 10 minute scene at the beginning, the movie takes place in real time. But there really isn't a full story here. The SEALs are on a mission. What's the mission? They don't tell you. They're watching people from the scope of a sniper rifle and talking to someone else on the other end of a walkie-talkie. I really needed something more story-wise for this to be a really good movie. You feel the camaraderie among the troops, but not a great idea of who these men are. I would definitely recommend Warfare if you like war movies and don't get hung up on story elements. I liked it, but I just wish there was more to get me to care about these characters. You can find it on HBO Max. Tron Legacy comes next, and I gave it 3 3/4 stars. Tron Legacy is, in my opinion, the best of the Tron series. It has the best action, graphics, and story of all of the 3 Tron movies. Legacy begins by updating us on what happened to Kevin Flynn in the real world, and tells us of his disappearance. It's a tight scene that sets up the rest of the movie and introduces us to our new protagonist, Sam, Kevin's son. Fast forward 20-ish years, and Sam has skills like his dad, but shows no interest in running Encom. He finds his dad's secret office and is zapped into the grid, which has become a clean cyberpunk world ruled by Clue, Kevin's avatar, who keeps Kevin from leaving to the real world. There is also a storyline about programs indigenous to the grid, not created by any human, that has the potential to make a good story, but was ditched by the Ares sequel. The movie is an upgrade to the original Tron in all the right ways. The digital effects are amazing, with the exception of Jeff Bridges' de-aging for Clue, and there are more and more interesting fight scenes. The story is a good continuation, but I can understand the criticism of its shallowness and the shallowness of its characters. However, I watched this the day after I saw Tron, and I feel I can say the same for that movie. There's more to Legacy than the original, though, and I like it for what it is. Jeff Bridges is doing his dude thing, and I really like Garrett Hedlund as Sam. What are you going to Tron movies for? I'm going for action and visuals. If I get a good story, all the better. And Legacy is the best we've gotten so far. I've got The Black Phone next, and I gave it 4 stars. I heard good things about The Black Phone, but was never super interested in seeing it. When I needed a horror movie to watch while my kids trick-or-treated and didn't have anything lined up, I hit play. I was not disappointed. A town is plagued by a mysterious kidnapper in 1978. After Finney is taken and locked in a basement, he begins to receive phone calls from past victims. Meanwhile, his sister tries to find him by searching her dreams for clues. The 2 leads, Mason Thames and Ethan Hawke, are great. If either of them didn't work, the movie would have failed. Madeline McGraw, who plays Finney's sister Gwen, is also good in her storyline. What I really liked about the movie was the original story. The 2 kids don't have superpowers, more like ESP, and I really loved how the past victims helped Finney survive longer than anyone before him. The movie is tense and keeps you guessing on the edge of your seat. If you're looking for some thrills or an original story, you could do worse than The Black Phone. I'm not sure how the sequel will be, but I'm more interested in seeing it after seeing the original. Next up is the documentary John Candy, I Like Me, and I gave it 4 1/4 stars. John Candy was one of the comedic cornerstones of my childhood. I remember watching so many of his movies in the 80s, and I even watched the 90s cartoon Camp Candy. I liked him so much. I even find myself quoting him all the time, even if just in my head. I Like Me talks about Candy's life growing up, becoming a professional actor and comedian, and his struggles with his health. It's not a breakdown of all of his movie roles and experiences, and is better for it, even though I would have loved that too. The movie is directed by Colin Hanks, who probably met Candy on the set of Splash when he was 7. Hanks probably loved Candy and was hit hard by his death only 10 years later, but even that is not explored in the film. Most of the interviews are with Candy's wife and kids, but there's also an amazing group of professional friends included. This movie makes me want to sit down with an orange whip and some huge pancakes to rewatch Spaceballs and even Who's Harry Crumb, to spend more time with this comedic legend. High and Low comes next, and I also gave it 4.25 stars. I wanted to watch High and Low before I saw Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, which came out just a couple months ago. I love Kurosawa, and am always excited for a reason to watch another of his movies. High and Low is about a businessman who's the target of a kidnapping and extortion plot. The kidnapper calls and says the man's son was kidnapped, but it turns out that the boy is the son of the businessman's driver. The man needs to decide if he'll risk his life savings for the driver's son. That is just the first half of the movie. The second half is a very good police procedural that doesn't bore you at all. Kurosawa teams up with Toshiro Mifune, the actor that stars in several of his films. For the most part, I'm a fan, but I thought he was very one-note in this movie. He yells a lot and doesn't have a lot of memorable quiet moments that a man struggling with this situation would have. The rest of the cast that surrounds him in the first half of the movie are good as well, but not great. The police work in the movie, though, is pretty exciting, from determining where the calls came from to trying to identify the perpetrator without all the modern tools used in TV shows and movies today. Like all Kurosawa movies, it looks great and the script is amazing. This is a 2.5-hour movie without a scene that isn't important to the plot. Of the 6 Kurosawa movies I've seen, this one ranks toward the bottom. But that doesn't mean it's not a good movie. It's a very good movie. That's just the type of film Kurosawa makes. Fruitvale Station comes next, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Michael B. Jordan had been working for 15 years before breaking out with Chronicle in 2012, and Fruitvale Station a year later. He was fire in both and has been ever since. Jordan plays Oscar Grant, a man trying to turn his life around only to be shot and killed by a train station police officer. This movie definitely has a point of view. We see Oscar be sweet and loving with his girlfriend, daughter, and mother, but we also see him be aggressive with others to a lesser degree. The movie really leans towards the former rather than the latter. Oscar has had trouble with the law before, but the movie portrays him as a mostly good man. I didn't know Oscar, so I can't say whether that's an accurate portrayal of him or not, but I do know that no unarmed person should be shot by any authority. This is Ryan Coogler's feature directorial debut, and it looks great. He did an amazing job writing, shooting, and getting the performances from his actors. He's from Oakland, California, so this is a very personal story, and you can feel it. I've seen every one of his movies and will continue to watch whatever he puts out. If you liked Creed, Black Panther, or Sinners, go back and watch this movie. Even if you didn't like this one, find it and watch it. I found it at my library. Finally, we have Sorry Baby, and I gave it 4.75 stars. Sorry Baby is another uncomfortable film, but unlike Friendship, you feel sorry for the main character and want to see what happens next. Eva Victor plays Agnes, a woman who from the outside leads what could be considered a successful life. However, she's emotionally frozen in the trauma she experienced and shows us how difficult it is to overcome it. The movie is told in a few different time periods. Agnes takes baby steps in her personal life, while her best friend falls in love, gets married, and has a baby. Agnes's professional life seems successful, but it's so near her trauma, it's probably not a healthy place for her to stay. And while all this is happening, the movie's also pretty funny. Eva Victor also wrote and directed the movie, and I'm excited to see what she does next. I really like the location choices, especially Agnes's house, which shows her isolation from the world. All of the actors in the movie are good, but the movie is made or broken with Victor's performance. Her deadpan lines are both hilarious and heartbreaking, and in the end, there's still some hope. Sorry Baby lives up to the festival hype it's had all year. It's unfortunate that the studio didn't find a way to market it to the public. I strongly recommend you find it. I found it on HBO Max. That'll do it for this review video. There were a lot of disappointments this month. I only ranked 5 movies from this year over 3 stars. Only Sorry Baby had a glowing review, and that one's not for everybody. Which of these movies from 2025 interest you enough to catch up with? Let me know in the comments. If reviews aren't your thing, come back in a couple weeks to check out what's coming to streaming services in December. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.